Hi, friends. I'm Katie.
And I'm Lauren. And welcome to Okay, but Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today, we're recapping and chatting about Bob's Burgers Season 3, Episode 21, Boys for Now, and Episode 22, Carpe Museum. We always start off with a synopsis, so this is the one for Episode 21, Boys for Now. Aunt Gail got tickets to Tina's favorite boy band, Boys for Now, but can't take them because of an emergency with her cat. Jean has qualified for Table-Scaping regionals, and the parents are doing their best to be supportive. Louise and Tina make it to the concert, catching a ride with Zeke and his cousin, and Louise discovers she likes a boy, Boo Boo, the youngest of the boy band. She struggles with this discovery and tries to fight it, but can't resist. After the concert, the girls sneak onto the tour bus and are later discovered by the band. Louise takes her chance and slaps Boo Boo in the face. Linda and Bob get competitive and are motivated to help Jean win the competition. But Jean only brought one tablescape, and they have to come up with a second display with the contents of Linda's purse. Jean does win fourth place. So, all right. We always start off with our vacant storefront and all the puns. So, what did you get for the vacant storefront?
That was Break a Bear Teddy Bear Disposal.
Which is so interesting. It's for Bill. It's like, of course, a play on like Build a Bear, but I'm just like,
Yeah,
who needs teddy bear disposal? Like, is it like
like
teddy bear funerals?
maybe? Or
Maybe.
you regift. Maybe they also sell used teddy bears or donate them or something.
I mean, they don't survive, so who knows?
This is true.
What did you get for the pest control truck?
Rat-a-tat flat exterminators.
Yeah, it's like the play on rat-a-tat-tat. Fun times. And there are sadly no burgers of the day because they're not in the restaurant.
There were no burgers. No burgers. It should be illegal to have no burgers in a Bob's Burgers episode.
Okay, but I really love when you get that upset about there being no burgers.
I like to look for the burgers, okay?
Just
It's fine.
more proof that you and my husband are the same person.
What's the point of the episode if there's no burgers? Like, just show it once.
So, did you pick up on who plays Boo Boo?
No, I don't think I did.
So that is Max Greenfield,
Oh,
mostly known as Schmidt in New Girl.
gotcha.
If you listen to it now, though, if you think of his voice, it's very obvious.
Gotcha.
Like, it's hilarious. So this episode is, of course, based off the singing group Boys to Men. I feel like it could have been almost any like teenage heartthrob
Oh, yeah.
type boy band.
Mm-hmm.
There's been so many. You and I grew up with like, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, and then later into like Jonas Brothers. I think there was at one point, I think it was like near the end of my high school time that people were really getting into One Direction.
Yeah, One Direction was, yeah, I would say probably towards the end of my high school also.
Yeah, I think that was towards the end because I had a huge crush on Nick Jonas as a kid, and
Fair.
like, of course, loved NSYNC, but that's about as far as it went for me. I wasn't
Yeah.
like I listened to a lot of rock
Yeah.
and alternative music, so it wasn't a huge one for me.
Yeah, I wasn't big, like, boy bands weren't necessarily my thing.
You don't say.
I mean, I liked NSYNC when I was a kid because the music was catchy.
Well, yeah, they had catchy music. It's funny.
Yeah.
The original name of the episode and what was probably going to be the actual name for the band instead of Boys for Now was Men to Be.
Okay. I say the boy band, it gave me from That's So Raven Boys in Motion, it gave me that vibe.
Yes. Oh man, I forgot about that.
That was good. The Boys in Motion. I love the fake boy band names that come out of these shows.
It's very funny. But then when you have that too, like the songs. These
Yeah.
songs in this, like especially in this episode, there's so many of them. I'm just like,
The
what's
coal
happening?
mine.
Coal
What's with the
mine.
coal mine?
Will you? Yeah, no, I can't. Because even at one point when that happened and they like break through the girl's wall, I actually wrote down. I was like,
Yep.
Does she live in the basement?
Apparently, she
That
apparently
was my
lives.
first.
She lives in a building with a wall that shares a wall with a mine.
So that was fun.
I
Um,
should keep out for anyone going hi ho with some axes and some fairy dust.
There's a lot going on with
Yeah,
mining in this episode, in these episodes.
apparently.
So tablescaping.
Is that a thing?
Jeans I have no
I need to know if competitive tablescaping is a real thing.
look, I don't always think of is this actually like
There are some things that like cuz like
oh
the
shit, it
best
came up on Google.
the best comedy is pulled from real life. And there are some things that are just too ridiculous to be made up, and please tell me this is real.
I can't believe I didn't think to Google this before, but it would be a Bob's Burgers episode if we weren't Googling.
Sure.
The first article, all I looked up was tablescaping competition.
Uh-huh.
Those are the words I looked up.
Okay.
The first article says, the fiercely precise world of competitive table setting.
Got it. Like I said, there are some things that are just too ridiculous to be made up. The most ridiculous comedy bits are pulled from real life.
Oh my god. For most people, table setting is a chore, but for some, it's a sport. Once a year, highly competitive table setters vie for the Best of Show ribbon at the Orange County Fair in a competition often referred to as the Olympics of Table Setting.
I stand by the note that I wrote down. Tablescaping sounds just as exciting as competitive cup stacking.
Which, ironically enough, our kids have started playing with cups instead of toys now, like doing that, all the stacking,
I
which
love
for a
it.
3-year-old is very entertaining. But
Yeah,
Gene, he
right?
has the one that's the dump themed one. Dump Up the Volume
Uh-huh.
was like it was that's a supposed to be a reference to the 1980 movie Pump Up the Volume, or probably
Yeah.
there's like a I guess there's a song, but it's like house music by the same name, and we
Uh-huh.
all know how much Gene loves music. So,
Yeah.
and then my last like fun fact is just that Linda suggested a baby Jessica tablescape, and that was a reference to where the 18-month-old Jessica McClure fell down a well and the media hype that surrounded it in 1987.
Gotcha.
So this is an episode.
This was an episode.
I liked the magic tablescaping though. That was cute.
I thought that was clever. That was actually very clever.
I did write down too though, I can't stand parents that are like this, the ones that like you didn't achieve it in your lifetime, so you force it on your children. Please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Exactly.
No
Like just
one
like let your kids be kids.
I loved when Louise was critiquing the guy's entrances. That was I would be doing the same thing.
Yeah, pointing out like you can see the wires. It's not very not ruining the illusion and everything. I'm like, I mean, yeah.
I wrote down my favorite line though was slap Obama, here we come.
Yeah.
Very much like Louise to be like, I don't want to kiss him. I want to slap him.
Yeah, that's very on brand for her. I did her line of like, this is why no one likes girls, or like, this is why no one likes women. I'm like, I feel like we could have a conversation about, fandom culture when it comes to girls and boys, and like, they're both annoying
Mm-hmm.
to the same degree, but yes, culture is much harsher on fandom girls
Very much so.
because for whatever reason, they just decide that girls being intense about this, like, because like, is inherently shameful versus men or yeah, I would say boys, but no, men that cry when something doesn't go the way they want or when something gets changed. Or I'm just gonna spout to everyone that got mad when the doctor became a woman, like, because it's not for them anymore. And I'm like, calm down, it's literally a TV show.
Well, it makes me think of that whole like there's been a trending sound or someone from another podcast that was just like, why do we need women in Star Wars? Women don't watch Star
Yeah,
Wars. And I'm like, you sure about that?
yeah.
Like, man. I just when it
Like,
comes to Star Wars, I just need people to sit down and listen to George Lucas and shut up.
yeah, exactly. Although maybe we don't listen to George Lucas about there not being underwear in space, because that is actually kind of sexist.
Okay, that's different. That's different. Well, there's a lot of people that don't understand that he based a lot of Star Wars off like Vietnam and
Yeah.
those
Well, because
aspects as well. And I'm just like, y'all need just listen to him.
yeah, well, because the original trilogy, I mean, it's a space western. Like, it's
Hmm.
not like that's what it is. Like,
The entirety of
so
Star
yeah,
Wars is about balance, literally the balance between good and
yeah,
evil. And if one side has too much power, Something has to happen on the other side to balance it out. Freddie Prinze Jr. does an entire rant about this. There's a video out there of him talking about this. Look it up if you have any interest. But he goes on this huge rant and he even ends it with like, "This isn't me." He's like, "This is from George Lucas."
Yeah.
Like that's exactly all it is. He's like, "But all these men went to complain about it when
Yep.
it's coming from him." And I'm just like, it's it. You and I are both in plenty of fandoms to know what it's like.
Yep.
Like, you don't even get me started on
And
Lord of the
like,
Rings. Like, oh my god.
no. But like the fan, like this is like the fandom that I think I would say I have the most experience with is the Once Upon a Time
Of
fandom,
course.
obviously. And that one, I mean, I guess I would say luckily there's not a good chunk of men gatekeeping because I think the fandom is predominantly female, so which works in my favor. But there's still plenty of gatekeeping because people will do that all the time for no fucking reason. Uh, but it's that same like it's that intensity of it's like what I say about like the shipping thing. It's like the ship
Mhm.
wars or the multi shipping. I'm like, hey, if you don't like the same thing as this one person, then you're gonna fight. Like you're gonna fight about it. Like they're fictional characters. No one cares.
It goes
Like
hand
at
in
the end
hand
of
with the parasocial relationships.
exactly like it's if someone likes something that's different than you for people that have kind of like an insecurity in anything, they feel like that weakens their stance, right?
Mhm.
And that's in all fandoms. It's like if someone disagrees with you for whatever reason, it weakens your stance. I'm like, but it's no one's right,
Except for the creator
but
of whatever.
except for the exactly like unless there is concrete evidence in. It's why it goes in a lot of my videos. I'll always say like, this is just an interpretation. I am not right or wrong. This is just an interpretation the writer until the writers say otherwise. This is what I'm
Because
thinking.
we could have an interpretation of anything in Bob's Burgers, but if Lauren Bouchard comes out and says, "Oh no, it's actually this," he's right, not us. It's his show. So after all of that, though, I have to ask you, which is better, menstruant or period piece?
I think period piece.
I liked period piece better too.
Like menstruant, I get it. It's a little hard to say.
It is, yeah, that's where I was with it. I liked period piece a lot, though. I'm like, that one made more sense.
Yeah.
Um, I love that that's how I segued out of that, though. That was wonderful. It's a great way to go.
It's a great segue. Boy bands, menstruant.
Like, oh my goodness. I mean, this episode was for the women. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, it really
It
was.
really was. What other notes do you have for me?
Like I did write down like this kind of concert did remind me of like my first concert, which to be fair was not a boy band concert, but it was a very similar teeny bopper kind of thing.
Who was it?
Because it was Star Kid.
Oh my God, Star! You got to see Star Kid? I hate
Yeah.
you.
So for those
I
who
hate you so much.
I've seen them twice. Because
What?
for yeah, because
Oh,
to the group for people who do not know, because Star Kid is very vague. So
very vague.
if anyone has seen the amazing, and we can hype this up because they are the antithesis of the source material creator in every possible way.
Yep.
Um, the people who created a very Potter musical and subsequent very popular comedy musicals, and if you say you've never heard any of the music, if you're on TikTok, you absolutely have because
Absolutely. I don't
their
want to
sounds are
do the
all over
work
the
today.
place.
They're
I
so
don't really
they
want to do the work
work
today.
today.
You've got, oh, what's the one I was just thinking of? I was
Oh
like,
man.
I, uh, I want to be your friend forever. I want to be a modern dancer. What a weird thing to say that came out of nowhere.
What was the alien
What's
one
fun?
they did that I loved? Oh my god. I can't remember all the names
Oh,
of their stuff.
Starship.
Starship, thank
Starship.
you.
That's
I
my favorite.
I
What's
love Starship so much.
the fact that we're talking about this is even funnier because my best friend texted me today because from their this so far off a tangent,
Oh
but
no.
whatever, it's fine. But from their Wicked parody Twisted that was about
Yes.
Jafar, it was like the Disney one. From my best friend and I, we do this as a call and response text every once in a while when we just get bored and we love each other. And she sent me this morning. Was from the very end of the opening song is I want to be a cat. What? Fuck you. We just send like someone will send I want to be a cat and then you
Oh
get
my
back what
god.
and then fuck you.
I love it.
That's how we text I love you. I love you.
How have we
So
never talked about Star Kid before?
I don't know, but they were my very first concert and that's the context here. So I saw them on for their very first tour, Space Tour, and
Oh,
then they did their 5th anniversary show for whatever reason in New York City.
yeah.
So I went to see that. So I've seen them twice. And it's very teeny bopper, but it was a lot of it was people. I think I was a junior in high school the first time. so 16, something like that.
Mhm.
Everyone was roughly anywhere from like 15 to like 22. Like no, there was not a very wide range of ages there. Everyone was just so happy to be there. It was just it was
It's
a lot of it was just a very fun group. And actually, I saw a video recently of someone who was in the band, and she said she's like, one of the best things about playing with Star Kid was if you forgot the lyrics, it didn't matter.
no,
The
it
audience
didn't.
was singing anyway.
And someone like me who growing up where I did, I think I was like one of the only people who knew what Star Kid was. I would bring it
Yeah.
up to like friend groups and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" And I will preface like we're not like okay with like Harry Potter now and J.K. Rowling and all that shit, but like back then, I'd be like, "Oh, you've never
No, but like
heard a Harry Potter musical?" And they're like, "Katie, dude." And I'm like, "It's so good."
it's amazing. And that's truthfully one of the things I'm like, that is so far removed from the source
So
material that
far removed.
I still very much and like because they obviously they have no affiliation because they did a song when it first came out saying please don't sue us.
Mhm.
So like they are not at all affiliated with J.K. Rowling and the
Oh
source
no.
material. So like I'm still very much okay with enjoying the hell out of that music. And
I
like
mean, watching a
Darren Chris
grown
still
man,
brings every
yeah.
Darren Criss still brings in like all of his friends when he goes on concert tours to sing the songs and everything. It's just so good.
I mean, there's nothing better than watching a grown muscular man playing Umbridge. Like Umbridge rules.
Did you get my text? You didn't text me back.
It was also really great too. I think when it came to the Potter musical ones, like but with a Harry Potter, like the Harry Potter stuff, I really loved it because it took a lot for Rowling to even just admit that like Dumbledore was gay.
Yeah.
It took so long. And then you have Star Kid who's like, we're gonna make Dumbledore really gay.
We're gonna lean into that one real
We're gonna
quick.
lean into that. Which made me so happy because it makes me think of it makes me think of Daniel now.
Hmm.
The guy my name, oh god, last name. Radcliffe. I don't
Yeah.
know why my brain's not working. Daniel Radcliffe eventually doing like on the show he's on now, Miracle Workers. He has a whole scene in like the second or third season where
Yeah.
he dances and sings in drag.
Yeah.
So I I love like how so many people have been kind of associated with it, have still
Hmm.
gone on to been like, we don't agree with you.
No.
It makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you have any other notes?
Just back to the period piece, the minstrel, whatever we're gonna call this, is when he was insisting on putting like the sanitary napkin, and he's like, "It has wings."
And then Bob yelling, "Let her try the tampon straw."
Show her the tampon straw. I was just dying at that point.
But what what did you rate this one?
So I gave it a 7 for plot. Mostly, I think we can't
Mhm.
necessarily condone slapping public
I
figures.
mean, it's a
It's
child
very
at
it's
least.
it's very Louise, but still also something about him. I mean, I understand him being in a booster seat. I was like, I get it, but I'm like, so how old is this guy? You have like easily like a 25-year-old easily as the other guy. Is this guy 9? Like,
Okay, I will say as a mother that child safety car
it's
seat
important.
laws are not like they're so it goes so much further. Like my 3-year-old is still rear facing.
Okay.
You're actually supposed to keep them facing the opposite direction for like 4 years
Oh
because
wow.
of when their spine fuses in their neck.
Hmm.
Um, Booster seats, all of those are completely dependent on height and weight, not age.
Gotcha.
And this is why you have a mother as your friend. Like my daughter is 9 and just this like past within the past 6 months has she been allowed out of her booster seat.
Okay.
So yeah, that checks out.
I believe it. But it's the fact of you got someone who needs a booster seat with you, someone who's easily old enough to rent a car.
Well, like he was even saying though, he's like, go call your parents. And he's very obviously like, if I had a kid, I'd
Yeah.
call them. Like he's
Yeah.
very obviously not young, even though they're trying to pass him off.
Yeah. So that it got an 8 for character, perfectly enjoyable, and a 9 for personal. So this got a 24.
I only got 1 point higher.
Oh wow.
I gave it an 8 for plot. I think it's a pretty good plot, but the menstruant was a choice.
It was a
Um,
choice.
it was a choice. Character, it gave it 9. The
Okay.
guy that they're up against is just so insufferable. Because like if there's a character I'm not enjoying it, I'm not giving it a 10. I just
Yeah.
can't.
No, that's fair.
and personal is an 8. So I gave this a 25.
Okay, that's fair.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Now our synopsis for season 3, episode 22, Carpe Museum. It's Bob's turn to volunteer for one of the school field trips, and they're off to the museum. The kids are all given buddies. Jean is paired with Zeke, Louise with regular-sized Rudy, and Tina is with Henry Haber. Jean enjoys a day of Zeke showing him all the boobs in the museum, and then shows Zeke the joy of sand. Tina and Henry both try to make the other less dorky, and Louise and Rudy go out of bounds, getting themselves in some trouble. Linda misses the family so much that she closes the restaurant to join them at the museum, but the employees are on strike, and Linda can't resist a chant. She joins in on the strike, forgetting her family inside. Bob and Louise have a lovely bonding moment, but then Louise admits she's thinking of running the restaurant in the future. Rudy starts to struggle without his inhaler, and Bob has to find the inhaler, save Rudy, and get the kids back to the bus. Linda is eventually chased away from the protest in Linda fashion.
Yeah.
As always, the puns, though. What did you get for the vacant storefront?
That was sit and spin pottery.
That is a good one.
That's very good.
I love this one. I saw
Yeah.
this when I was getting my notes done, and I'm just like, yes, this is. I would go to a
Approved.
place called this.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we've had those moments of like that. Let's not like no. Like we had a whole one
Yeah.
based off misogyny. Let's not.
Yeah. Massages for men.
Oh man. And then you've got the pest control truck.
That was Rodent to Perdition Pest Control.
So that's based off of a graphic novel and film called Road to Perdition.
Yeah.
The font is similar, apparently, on the pest control truck to the film title.
Gotcha. And we only had one burger. Again, we at least had one burger.
I was gonna say, there's one burger. There's still a burger.
At least. That was the so many fennel, so little time burger. Comes with lots of fennel and no time.
Which is, I love it. I love it so much. Oh my goodness. These are our first appearances of Henry Haber, pocket-sized Rudy, and regular-sized Rudy. We don't see pocket-sized Rudy very much. I mean, all you saw in this was his hand. Um,
Fair.
but Henry Haber was played by Jim Gaffigan, who we are most know all from as like a stand-up comedian, and he was also
Yeah.
did some small part in That 70 Show. And then regular sized Rudy is played by Brian Husky. It was so hard to pinpoint any character he's really been in anything because he's been in so much. This man does
Gotcha.
a million different side characters and shows. I think Veep was probably the one that looked the most like most people would know. But he does a
Okay.
lot of voiceover. Like he is one of those people out there that just does a lot of work, but not like one of those roles that you just always remember.
Yeah.
But those are our new characters that will continue to come around. Henry Haber, not as much as Rudy. Rudy is like pretty much Louise's like best friend, leading on from
Gotcha.
here.
Okay.
So,
That's
which is
fair.
really adorable.
Yeah.
You'll love this. This is the first episode that the burger of the day no longer cost $5.95.
Oh, I didn't notice.
It costs $5.50 now. Which I'm now realizing before, I remember us like earlier in us talking about this, I think I remember like, yeah, I think the burger of the day is $5.50. It's got to be like a subconscious thing because if it's $5.50 now, I've probably seen $5.50 more than I've seen $5.95 watching this.
Oh,
And I've
definitely.
seen so many episodes. Like
Oh, yeah.
I've watched this a lot. The only
No.
other time that we're not sure exactly how much it cost though is there was a day with the broadcast Wagstaff school news episode. There was a senior discount and the cost of the burger was not displayed that time.
Yeah.
And my last just little fun fact is it's a booby checklist. Would you like to know Zeke's booby checklist?
I would like to know Zeke's booby checklist. Yes, please.
So we start off with Viking boobs.
Okay.
The next is Eskimo boobs, although I think pretty certain Eskimo is not the term you're supposed to use.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think you're supposed to say that, but this episode also came out, I think, in 2013.
There's a lot of things I'm
Uh,
supposed to say.
oh, yeah. Then we have East Timor boobs, Micronesian boobs, Samoan boobs, and the last one is Egyptian boobs.
Fair.
So, yeah, that was a fun time.
Yeah.
So, what'd you think?
A wine thermos is a good way to get through being with Mr. Frond.
That is
Great
very
advice.
true. I wrote that moms do tend to volunteer more.
No, moms definitely do because I can count like as a kid, not as often. Like my dad didn't because he when I was a kid he worked usually in the city, so he obviously couldn't. My mom was a stay at home mom until I was in the third grade, and then even then she still just worked part time. So I feel like moms tend to
Mhm.
be around like not I say around where moms tend to take on the more close to home roles that they can be, which is like not a
Yes.
great thing for society. Like it should be more equal, but
I'm seeing it kind of move away from that more now. Like Autumn had a orthodontist appointment today
yeah,
and she and my husband was off and she insisted, she's like, I'd really love dad to take me. And of course I'm like, go right
yeah,
ahead. I take care of everything. So please go right ahead. So it's like, but I am a stay-at-home mom. So I do tend to do the errands and the
hmm
shopping and the
yeah,
appointments and the homeschool trips. And I do take a grunt of that work, but he had the better paying job.
yeah,
So we went with that. I also wrote that Frond is annoying as hell, though. I'm like, I feel so bad for Bob.
absolutely. No, same.
And there's nothing worse than watching him flirt.
Oh, absolutely. No, he's not good at it
He's very bad at it.
with Mrs. Museum or whatever he calls it. Is there a Mr. Museum? Like what?
It's Frond. That's all I
Yeah,
can say.
yeah, that's fair. When they were in the restaurant and Teddy just goes like he's in you, he's in me, he's in the spatula. I'm like he's not dead. He's not in the spatula.
I think Teddy has some separation issues.
I think so too. You know, just a little bit. He doesn't like change. I've noticed.
And then you got Mort that's just like, what are you guys doing? He's just doing a thing. I love that Mort's very much like, why are we doing this? I'm waiting on food.
Yeah, he's like
You're a restaurant, feed me.
but my fries.
I the one of the lines I wrote down is just, I've never heard of anyone having a boob fetish. I just went, oh honey.
I wrote that down too.
I had a feeling you would. Like, welcome to America. They all do.
Well, I mean,
Everyone does.
he's a kid. He's he's not thinking like that. He's still
He's what, 11?
he's still innocent. We're gonna call Gene innocent for now.
We're gonna for now. Give
For
him a
now.
few more years.
Yeah. So Andy and Ollie are objectively the worst.
Yeah.
With like how they just started screaming immediately when they saw they weren't paired together. Like, because as Mr. Front, why didn't you just foresee that? You should have just put
It's
them
Frond.
together. Because also, but like still, like even if they didn't respond like that, why would you foist either of those children on literally anyone
Yeah,
else?
that's fair. But I mean, they're voiced by the Silverman sisters. What we get, what we get.
Yeah, this is true, but still, just like just put them together. Let them do their thing. Let them be creepy by themselves.
Why does Linda like taking her clothes off in public so much?
I don't know. I have noticed that as well.
She does on TV at protests. Gives the whole
Yeah,
let's take her pants off and put them back up. Like let's
I
not.
yeah no. Like Linda, you're not part of the strike. Calm down. But Rudy wheezing. I mean, because for a second I thought I couldn't place his voice, but then I saw I wrote down the wheezing sounds a lot
Mm-hmm.
like SpongeBob going, "I need it" when it comes to like the water. So I thought it was Tom Kenny at first, and obviously it's not, but it sounded very similar. But then at the very
It
end when
did.
they're rushing to get his inhaler, and Bob's like, "How many do I do?" She went like, she's like, "Just do it. Doesn't matter." Like, "Oh, what? You're afraid he's gonna breathe too well?"
Right? I love too that he was just like, I think I need a hit. Like, he's like, can I have? I need one. I need one of these too. I feel that,
Yeah.
like, as someone who does not work out enough. My last note that I wrote down was just, if my mother answers, hang up. I said, Fron, please move out.
Please.
Move out. You got to be like in your 30s. Come on, man.
I would assume 40s.
40? Yeah, no, maybe you're right. It's hard to tell. They're cartoons.
That's true. There are cartoons. Well, like The Simpsons was never very clear about like. Well, not that they weren't clear, but they were always ambiguous about ages, or just not ambiguous. I guess they were always just inconsistent because I think the idea was Marge and Homer were always 39, but the kids are obviously like we're 10, 8, and a baby. But they would imply in the earlier seasons that like they had Bart right out of high school, but that's not possible if they're 39,
Mhm.
because that would mean that they had him at 29. They weren't in high school back then, so cartoons and
Yeah, that'd be
ages are always
a
very wonky.
which is interesting because Bob's is very clear that the kids are these ages. Like they're always 9, 11, and 13.
Yeah,
Which I would kind of love to see if more of the adult cartoons would slowly do it like what Bluey's doing. I don't know if you know about how Bluey does
yeah,
their
with how they're
thing.
aging everything.
Like
Yeah,
it's for the first time ever we're seeing children age in children cartoons because Bluey and Bingo start off I think at 5 and 6, but now they are like or no, 4 and 6 and they've had a whole birthday episode and now the girls are 5 and 7 and it's taken
hmm
like 3 seasons, but it's very
yeah,
interesting to see and I'm loving it. I'm like, "Please." Because the little girls that are voicing them are getting older, so their voices aren't going to stay the same.
yeah. Well, 'cause that makes sense. Because I feel like adult cartoons aren't doing that, or they won't do that, mainly because they have adults
Mhm.
voicing the characters. So they don't necessarily have to age up the characters because the voices aren't maturing. Like voices change. Like if you listen to how any of the Simpsons characters are voiced now versus how they were voiced in the 80s, like they sound different. Like they've been more consistent, I would say, probably in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
But which is awful that I can say that, and that's still not even like it's still like less than half of the run of the show. But it's, they don't have to age up the characters or age up the voices because the actors are the same. Because I don't think there are any children, no, on the Simpsons. No,
Mm-mm.
it's all adults. It's the same five people. So
I would love to see like Tina experience high school though.
yeah,
Like that would be really interesting because high school is completely different than going to a
yeah,
magnet school with your kids that are like with your siblings that are still in elementary age. Like
yeah,
she's going through puberty, yet her brother and sister are right there, and it's a completely different, I think,
yeah,
experience than it is of like when I was in middle school. My little sister was in elementary, my brother was in high school. I was by myself. There was
yeah.
no one there with me.
No, yeah, same. My brother and I were never in the same school, so it's just the way that ages worked out.
Only, I think, 1 year, well, kinda in elementary a little bit, but just because elementary has so many more years included in it, and then me and my
Yeah.
brother were in that perfect age gap of I was a freshman in high school and he was a senior. So I got to
Uh,
experience that, and then when I hit senior or no, junior, my sister hit high school. So I actually got to go to high school
gotcha.
with both of my siblings for a very short amount of time.
Yeah,
So which was interesting because then we all got our own high school experience without too much of the other, which
yeah,
is a very formative thing and very interesting. Um,
yeah. See, in my case, if my school wasn't set up the way that it was, we would have been in elementary school for 2 years at the same time. But my school, the way that it's set up, is that K1 are their own buildings.
oh,
So like we had two buildings that were K1, and then three buildings that were 2-5. So since I was in kindergarten, and he was in fourth grade. If it was one school, we would have been in school together for
mhm.
2 years. But K1 was always by itself. So
Yeah, my sister was
that
always,
kind of thing.
2 years behind me. So, like, even
Yeah,
with that, when she was in 6th grade, I was in 8th. So,
gotcha.
I definitely spent more time in school with my little sister, but with that 2-year age gap, that's how it's gonna be. My brother's
Did your elementary schools go up to sixth grade?
No, we went up to 5th.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There was 1 year that we all did end up at a magnet school together, or was it all of us or just me and my brother? And he was in 6th or 7th grade, and I was in, like, 4th.
Okay.
But we were on completely different, like no, we were on the same hallway. The school was 2 stories, just long ass hallways, one end to the
Okay.
other. I was all the way on one
No.
end, he was all the way on the other end. So we literally never saw each
Ah.
other. So
Mm.
that was an interesting because I went to 5 different elementary schools.
Oh wow.
Well, we didn't really move around a lot, but, like, we moved to a different district, and then I got accepted into
Ah,
that
okay.
magnet school for that 1 year. I only went there for 1
Mhm.
year because I hated it, and then
Yeah.
I had 2 different elementary schools in 5th grade because my mom had gotten a job at an elementary school and then didn't have that job for whatever reason for, like, in the middle of the year, so I had to transfer.
Mhm.
I had no choice to the one we actually
Yep.
lived near. And then she got her job back because I guess I had a paperwork
Ah.
error, and so I only went to that school for, like, a
Oh.
month, and they had to send me back
Ah.
to the other school. So it was
Ah.
fun. Thankfully, middle and high school, one school each. That went well, thankfully, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a lot of moving from school to school. Like, I've gone to more schools than I should have, but
Yeah.
and was living in, like, one area. It's very funny.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Luckily, my brother and I, with the which is I guess with the size of our school districts, I he and I tended to have different teachers for the most part.
Oh,
Like
wow.
elementary school we just ended up with different teachers. That's just how life worked. But middle school it was split up into a house system basically that was basically to kind of
Mhm.
keep you in the same group of teachers. So like we were still moving class to class, but like you weren't moving like not like high school where you could kind of go anywhere. So like we'd all have the same teachers, what have you. So I was so and also kind of helped decide your
We did
guidance
that in our
counselor
middle
and like where
school.
you had. So that was middle school. High school had a house system also, but that really all that determined was who your guidance counselor was and what
Mhm.
floor your locker was on. But in middle school, he was in orange house, I was in blue house. Although by the time I got to 8th grade, there weren't enough students to because there were five houses. It was blue, yellow, red, green, and orange. But by the time I got to 8th grade, there weren't enough students to warrant five, so they got rid of orange because that was the most recent one that had been created.
Mhm.
So actually I ended up with the orange house 8th grade history teacher who was my brother's history teacher who I really liked, but either way, so we didn't have the same teachers at all in middle school for the most part who didn't already know me because like other than like the music teacher, but she was also our neighbor, so like I knew her already. But then high school again, we really didn't end up having a lot of the same teachers just as it worked out. There's just enough teachers that I ended up with completely different people, except for 10th grade Spanish was this one woman, and she was a lovely woman. She was very energetic. But for that class, one of the projects on commands was to write out a recipe, and if you wanted extra credit, you would make the recipe and bring it in class, and we'd have fun. So my brother did that, and he made my grandmother's mandel bread, which is the dessert. It's kind of like a biscotti kind of.
Mhm.
It's made out of it's a dessert that we make around Passover. It's made out of matzah meal. It's good. It's very good. But he made that, and he made it for extra credit. And when she put together that I was his sister, she goes, we get closer to the project, she's like, oh, so you're gonna make the mandel bread, right? And I went, sure. Like I didn't get a choice. I was That was my project.
Yeah, I had a lot of moments of that, like, coming behind my brother and getting a lot of the same teacher,
Yeah.
mainly in high school. It was only in high school, really, but we also both did JROTC, so I had a lot of those moments of like, "Well, your brother did this," and I'm like, "I'm not my brother." Which
Yeah.
then they very quickly figured that out because my brother is
Yeah.
very intelligent. This is not me saying he's not
Hmm.
intelligent. I just did better in school than he did. And
Hmm.
they picked up on that pretty quick. They were just like, "You get better grades." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." It's like I'm a completely different person. Like,
I don't know how that works.
but you'll love this. I hear like you're saying all these different teachers. You'll This is a very funny moment of like I don't know if it's got to do with how southern we are that we didn't move away from where we're from, but my kindergarten teacher also taught my mother and my uncle. And then we had a disciplinary principal within my high school that taught my mom and actually watched her walk the stage while she was pregnant with my brother. He thankfully like survived. I say survived in a very sad way. Seeing all of us, all three of her children, also graduate and like was there for
Oh.
us. He sadly passed away like a couple years after my sister
Oh.
graduated, which was really cool. So like I have people who have literally like it was very interesting though watching that this man watched my mom and taught my mom. She crossed the stage pregnant and then watched her son and taught her son that she was pregnant with 18 years
Yeah.
later at a completely
Mm.
different school. So
Yeah.
we've had a lot of moments like that. This was also the disciplinary principle that when me and my brother did anything, we got away with it. Like my brother set
Ah.
stink bombs off in the high school, and Mr. Johnson walks by, looks at him, and goes, "Did you do this?" He's like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "No, you didn't go to class." And he set dumpsters on fire and didn't get in trouble. Like it was an interesting upbringing. But what did you rate this one?
So this one is similar. It's the last one. It got an 8 for plot, a 7 for character, and an 8 for personal. So this one got a 23. It was an enjoyable episode. I think this one had a little. I would have liked. I think I like the ones where like the families all together. I think I've noticed that when they're
Yeah.
separated out, I don't like the episodes as much. Um, or when it's like so focused on the kids, less on Bob and Linda, and I don't like as much, I guess. So I think that's why it lost an extra personal point. It was a lot. I mean, I thought there was a lot of Andy and Ollie. There's a lot of like Zeke. I'm like, I could take or leave Zeke. It was just it was enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets 23.
I like when they kind of do their separate thing and converge. That's kind of my favorite
Yeah,
way it happens. Like they'll kind of both have their own things going on, but then they converge and chaos ensues, and it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
I gave this one a 10 for plot. I really love the
yeah.
plot. There is something about watching episodes where Louise and Bob bond. It
Hmm.
really hits at the heartstrings. I love it so much. I'm a daddy's girl. Maybe that's what it is. Like I'm really like I'm pretty close to my dad, and that could possibly be a portion of it. But I love these episodes with that, and then watching Linda just be Linda. But then also seeing like everybody is so unapologetically themselves. Gene is like
Yeah.
enjoying his time with his buddy and being like, "All right, we're seeing boobs," but then he gets to the sand and he's like, "This is all I've been so excited for." And I think it's like going on to the thing of like a lot of these characters are very neurodivergent. You can tell. They've always made the
Yeah.
jokes that
Oh yeah.
Tina is autistic and she's got a lot of autistic traits. But like I see
Yeah.
it in Gene and Louise as well,
Oh
and
yeah.
I love it so much. I give character 8 because this is a heavy Frond episode. I
Yeah.
I've seen episodes where it's very redeeming for Zeke. So even though he's like really annoying at times, he's not that bad
Hmm.
for me because I've seen so many
Yeah.
episodes
That's
where
fair.
Zeke is not that bad. But then we have Andy
Okay.
and Ollie. So 2 points off character because I got to deal with Andy and Ollie and freaking
Yeah.
Frond, which is already annoying within itself. And then 9 for personal because Thrawn does ruin it that much for me. But so 27
Yeah. It's fair.
total for me.
It's fair.
But I love episodes like this. I love the family.
Yeah.
Their personalities, they make me happy. Like,
Yeah.
because we do tend to see, like, with comfort shows, you see a lot of yourself with whatever you're watching, and that's why it's comforting. You can
Oh yeah.
relate to it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Once Upon a Time, episode 203, Lady of the Lake. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. And follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Katie and Lauren and edited by Katie.